Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on July the 25th, 2023. I'm your host, game psychologist, and with me, as always, my trusty sidekick, my apprentice,
Caffeine Rage.
my little baby Watson, kind of. On today's show, we will, of course, be discussing the July Gameclub, which is Professor Layton and the Curious Village. We will remind you about next month's Gameclub, which has already been revealed to be Stranding. ESRB proposes facial age estimation technology for parental consent. Ew. Sony agrees to a 10-year Call of Duty deal with Microsoft. Ew. Microsoft ends Xbox Gold. And for our community corner, the Bears sex scene sends Baldur's Gate 3 up the Steam charts. And will Ubisoft actually delete inactive accounts? Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rage.
Hello.
Do you just love puzzles? Just love little brain teasers?
Well, that's kind of a puzzle in itself, isn't it?
It is. It is. I'm a puzzle. You're a puzzle. We're all puzzles. I'm the tease, though, out of the two of us. No, wait, that's a lie. You're probably the tease, because I'm
you're
down.
The slut.
I'm down. Oh. Yeah, we have been talking for almost an hour already, which might be a record. We've been chatting. We got a whole bunch of it on Craig, but I hopped on here right at 9:30, a few minutes after, maybe, and it is now 10:30 on the dot. We're doing good. Doing good.
Plenty of freaking content for whenever one of us is sick again.
Sick, or there are issues, which for me last week, there was a massive storm front that blew through here. High winds, hail, there were tornado warnings all around. Luckily, no major damage for me. My power went out for a while. There was an accident that someone crashed into a transformer, one of the power poles with a transformer on it or something. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It knocked out power for a pretty big area for about half the night. We had already planned to not record just because I saw this storm front moving in. I had some trees out in the yard, but thankfully no major damage to my house. There was a tornado that touched down next county over, about 15 miles or so from here. Thankfully, nobody killed. Some injuries, damage, but it's a good thing climate change is a hoax and all this is just going to go away, right?
And the planet's not on fucking fire.
Right. It's a good thing that none of that's real. I detect the huge, massive sarcasm in my voice. But that's why we didn't record last week. The power would have went out while we had been recording anyways, like if we hadn't called it. But I went and battened down the hatches and watched it rain like an old man. It was okay. I can get behind the old man experience.
Yeah, but you need a tin roof to really enjoy the rainstorm.
I do have a tin roof.
Never mind then.
I have got all of the things.
Well, did you at least get the fiddler down before?
I did not. He's still up on the roof. His corpse is, anyways. The hail and the wind killed him. But yeah, I just have embraced middle-aged man/dad dumb. I got my smoker. I've now got a griddle top. I sit outside and by the fire and watch it rain if it's gonna rain. I smoke meat and I work on house projects. And I complain about my pain and I grunt every time I sit up or get up or sit down. It's great. I love it. I'm living my best life. Aside from the pain. I could do without that. But, I've heard it's a package deal. So I broke in the griddle top with 10 pounds of bacon, 2 dozen eggs, 5 pounds of potatoes I made into hash browns, like homemade hash browns, and a vegetable spread. It was onions, bell peppers,
yeah, it sounds
jalapenos.
Like you need the toy I got today.
What did you get?
I got a rotary shredder attachment for my stand mixer.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, I got out the grater, the box grater, and grated 5 pounds of potatoes to make into hash browns.
I'm too lazy to do 1 pound, let alone 5 pounds.
It wasn't that bad. I only almost shredded my fingers a few dozen times.
Now, see, if you had asked Sarah to do it, she would have been down to the stub of her wrist.
She wouldn't have any fingers left. There was a fight that broke out in my office today between two patients. I honestly had forgotten about it. Like, I say fight. There were no.
Were any of them naked?
No, none of them were naked. There is
not nearly as fun as the last one, then.
Every once in a while, and this July has been really bad. The COVID special provisions, I forget, like they had like a name, but basically if you were on TennCare, which is the state version of Medicare, you were locked into your insurance while the COVID emergency procedures were in place.
Mm-hmm.
And those got dropped in January. And so a whole bunch of people are losing their insurance or having their coverage changed. And it sucks for everybody. It's just harmful to people overall.
But it makes money.
Yes, but we and I've talked about this before, but in case you've never heard, as perhaps a new listener or you have forgotten, I am a therapist, like a real licensed professional counselor.
Yeah, there's no space in that, by the way.
No, and the clinic that I work at helps provide care to several mental health group homes, which I think kind of like an old folks home, but for people with pretty severe mental health disorders. It's a step before someone goes to a place where you get a padded room and a self-hugging vest. And so because of this insurance issue, there have been a whole bunch of the residents who live in those homes that suddenly have their coverage in danger. People are getting moved around, their standards of care, like they're not being paid for again. And there've been a couple people that we've had to like really fight to get like emergency like stays put in place so they don't wind up homeless. Like these people cannot live on their own. That's why they're here. But there have been some that, we haven't been able to keep locked down, and they've been shipped out and new people have been put in place or have been brought in. And one of the new people is, she's just awful. She's just an awful person. It's definitely a result of her mental health disorder, but she's got the way that hers expresses herself is to just be awful. She yells and screams at people. She slings racist slurs like they're, just punctuation to a sentence. And so she's been not getting along with people. Surprise, surprise. Shocking. And one of the other residents who lives there, she's very much like a motherly type who wants to take care of everybody else. And like she has her own issues, to be sure. But, she sees herself as being like a mom to all of these people. And so new girl is like yelling and throwing racial slurs out in the hallway, and we're trying to get her to calm down. And mom lady is like standing up and doing like the chest puffing out thing, and it's like, fuck you, and you're not gonna talk to them this way, and I'm gonna protect my girls. And so there was no contact, but a punch was thrown by new lady. She also has some physical disabilities, so she was like, as soon as she went to throw the punch, like she got off balance, she fell down. Laughter was had, which probably, that definitely didn't help the situation, but it was funny looking. You gotta try to find humor where you can. So yeah, there was a yelling match and almost a fight that broke out in my office today. Fun times. And I had almost completely forgot about it, because that's usually not something that's like wild enough to register with me because of what I do for a living.
That's like low on the bar, huh?
Yep. But it was a little exciting. So anyways, speaking of things that are a little exciting, that's underselling.
That's rude.
That is rude. Let's go do our game club for this month, Rage. Game Club, I think it's my turn to introduce this, and if it's not, I'm just doing it anyways. Game Club is a time that Rage and I set aside to play games at the same time, sometimes together, depending on what they are. But it guarantees that we're going to play the same game at the same time and talk about it together, and you, as the listener, have the opportunity to participate as well. And sometimes we do. Well, it's been a while since we've had audience participation on one of these games. Hint, hint. Death Stranding coming up. Big one.
Yeah.
Good to get involved in. But anyways, for July, we played Professor Layton and the Curious Village, a DS release, a Nintendo DS in, I believe, 2007?
Yeah, hang on, let me... Yeah, February 2007, yeah.
Which some brief research on my part reveals it to be the first game in the series, but the fourth game in the timeline, or maybe it's the third game in the timeline.
Basically, from what I understand, they released three, essentially a trilogy, then had a prequel trilogy. Because the game kind of picks up like in the middle of, everything's already established, so there's no real context of a beginning. It's just like the adventure's continuing, right?
Yeah, which honestly I kind of like.
Mm-hmm.
It's Professor Layton and the Curious Village it calls itself a puzzle adventure video game, but I think it should be puzzle, adventure game. Like, it's kind of both of them.
Yeah, I kind of throw it into the visual novel area as well, somewhat.
Yeah, that makes sense, because the puzzles, they do kind of tie into the story, but for the most part, at least in my experience, the way that I feel about them, they're really disjointed.
Yeah, there's a few that make more sense in context, but a lot of times it's, there's a hidden puzzle here, and it doesn't really make sense in the context of where you're finding it.
Yeah, you'll be going along, and someone will talk to you, and they'll be like, "I like puzzles. Let me test you with a puzzle." And so you do a puzzle, or you'll go along and the professor will be like, I'm having a flashback, and you'll do a puzzle.
Oh, was he a Vietnam veteran?
Yeah, that's... I'm hardcore paraphrasing that, but...
How many Charlies is in the trees?
But, he has these kind of recollections, and they come out as being puzzles of some kind. Some of them, like the very first puzzle that you do to kind of introduce you to the mechanics is you look at the map of the town that you're supposed to be going to, and you have to circle the town that you're going to. So some of them are connected more in context, but
there's another one about halfway through the game where the bartender is having an issue of splitting water equally between three glasses.
The classic puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so yeah, it's interesting. In a lot of games, I mean, I'm just diving in, screw it. In a lot of games, I would say that this doesn't work because they're so disjointed. But there's something about the charm of this game that does make it pay off. I mean, Professor Layton is a sort of world-renowned... he's a lot of things. He's a lot of things. Sort of a professor, archaeologist. Has like a lot of physical skills and prowess. He's extremely intelligent, and I don't think he's actually the protagonist of the game, though. If that makes sense, I think the protagonist is actually the assistant.
The Watson character, essentially Luke.
Yeah, Luke. I think Luke is supposed to be our perspective. Because the game does feel at times an awful lot like your Luke, and
I would say that doesn't quite work for a sequence towards the end of the game where Luke is no longer in the picture. Essentially, there's a sequence where Luke is gone, and it sticks with Professor Layton.
Perhaps they're like a sort of a dual protagonist kind of thing. I did find myself a lot of times identifying more with Luke. The puzzles are. Some of them are difficult. I found most of them to be either easy or to be quickly able to be solved. I had to think about it, but a solution was available.
There's some towards the latter third of the game that you didn't play that it feels more like a gotcha moment of doing assumptions on reading reading how the text goes.
Yeah.
A good example of this is, did you do the dice one of rolling threes?
Yeah.
Okay. Playing like that, Because if you make the exception of how many, what's the odds of getting 4 3s instead of what's the odds of getting a 3 next roll, right?
Yeah.
Which feels a little cheap. And I honestly enjoyed the puzzles more whenever I was able to just sit down there, sit and just mess with it. Like the sliding puzzles, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Over, just sitting and staring at the screen trying to puzzle it out,
Yeah. I liked the sliding puzzles. I liked a lot of the ones that I did that involved math. That are, you're having to kind of think through a problem and sort of solve it using math in kind of a different way, using like a little piece of language to be like, oh, actually, I should add this instead of that, or
Yeah,
subtract.
and the game does have a hint system built into it. You find throughout the world by tapping around hint coins that you could pay to get, at first, a obtuse hint, then a more direct hint, then a very direct hint, but it's rarely, this is the answer. Which is a nicer way to do it than some puzzle games will do. The third hint will be like, if not give you the answer outright, practically give you the answer. This one, it's more like nudge, slight steer, then steers you in the right direction.
Actually, I have to real quick. You have a 3DS, right? So you played this on 3DS?
Yeah, I played an actual console.
I played this using the Citra emulator on Windows. I did not have any issues. I used Citra to play Pokemon, the Pokemans that we did.
The Pokemon Sony.
Yeah. And I had no issues with it.
Yeah, I played it on actual hardware, just like the Pokemans. Occasionally, writing recognition would be a little confused at what I was trying to write out. Particularly if it was wanting a lowercase a, it would do anything but a for a while.
Yeah,
but we're also looking at 2007 writing recognition, so right.
Yeah, the story. Okay, we've kind of jumped around a little bit. We don't necessarily always do these like perfectly, like from point to point.
Yeah,
but we just kind of.
Yeah, we gotta get into the mechanics of it first.
Yeah, the story of Professor Layton and the Curious Village is, like you said, you kind of jump into the middle of it. The professor and Luke are headed to a little village where that they are trying to solve the puzzle, or try to solve the puzzle, essentially this riddle to get a treasure. There was a fellow who died, and he left in his will that his fortune was going to go to whoever could solve his riddle, solve the puzzle.
Find the golden apple.
Yes, of the golden apple. And so Professor Layton has been invited to try to do that. And you get kind of a little breakdown between the professor and Luke about what's going on and why you're going there. And like you said, it's like these characters like know each other. They're established. You just kind of jump in and go on this adventure with them. I was surprised by a couple of things. Voice acting. Not full voice acting. There's plenty of text that you just read in the game. But there are fully voiced, fully rendered cutscenes, which I was impressed
animated, by. Which are actually, at least on hardware, pretty good looking.
Yeah, they look great on PC because the emulator lets you sharpen up the images and apply some additional effects to them. They looked really good.
Well, there's also an HD remaster on phones, so they would be even probably better looking there.
Yeah. And so you go to this village, you meet with the family, and you begin solving the riddle, solving the mystery. There is a murder that happens like almost immediately. Well, you start by chasing a cat, and then there's a murder that happens like almost immediately, and you're quickly suspected, but then let go. And it jumps around a lot in a way that at first doesn't make sense, but as the game progresses, does. There's a little bit of a plot with a rival, Professor Layton's rival, that honestly kind of comes out of nowhere, like his reveal.
Well, that's the thing, is that even to Professor Layton, it comes out of nowhere. It's like, who are you?
Yeah. But a lot of the events that have taken place leading up to this point have been perpetuated by the rival Don Juan. And it's like, oh, you were the mastermind behind this. But then there's another reveal. I don't know if you want to spoil that or not, because it does up in the entire story. I'm aware of it. I didn't get that far.
It's up to you if you want to reveal it or not.
Nah, let's keep it secret in case someone does want to go play it.
Yeah, because at the end of the story, Professor Layton does say, we'll have to keep this story to ourselves.
Right. But I also saw that apparently there's a little bit of branching paths. It comes down to the same ending, but apparently there's some branching paths. But
see, I didn't know that one. I'm not sure just how much it branches. I do know that I nearly missed a puzzle because I had messed around in the park area. So whenever I eventually went to the Ferris wheel, it immediately played the cutscene instead of letting me look around.
Yeah. Well, you can get puzzles, though, after the fact.
I know. There's a cottage, but also that particular puzzle, the trigger for it's still there. It's just in the Rebel.
Yeah. Gameplay mechanics-wise as well, there are more puzzles than you need to be able to actually progress. So if you do get stumped, you can skip something and not worry too much about it. Mm-hmm. Unless you're going for a 100% completion kind of thing. You can skip puzzles and it'd be okay. Because you'll come up against checkpoints. You'll meet somebody and they'll be like, you need to have completed 10 puzzles. What are what's the scoring thing called?
Pickrits?
Yeah. Which essentially, if you complete a puzzle on the first try, you get full marks. As far as I can tell.
And the more difficult the puzzle, the more you get.
Yeah. But I don't know how much more to say. Like, it's very interesting. Like, I really enjoyed this game. I want to actually go back.
That's very charming.
It's extremely charming. The art style is very cute and endearing. The soundtrack, it surprised me with how much depth there was to it and how much thought has gone into the audio design of the game. There are these eerie, the audio design and the visuals really give you this impression that while this town is supposed to be kind of cute, it's also off in a way. And that's kind of the big reveal when you find out why the town is off. You're like, oh, interesting. And it kind of reframes.
Then some things make more sense, huh?
Yeah. So the sound design is good. The soundtrack is good. The visual design is very cute. I like all of the characters. Well, I don't know if I like all of the characters, but at least the professor and Luke are extremely endearing and likable. Yeah, the core characters. But at the same time, I think because of the nature of the game, the story in and of itself is fairly simple, and that doesn't mean it's bad. But, this isn't super duper in-depth, Oscar-winning material, but it's a solid, simple story. But that means that it's kind of hard to talk about. And then the gameplay mechanics are interesting. The puzzles are interesting. Most of them are a lot of fun. But because of that nature, I don't really know how to talk about them a whole lot more.
Yeah, because they're... Okay. Counting the extra challenges that you'll get for... Well, there's also the mini game, or the side activities as well. But completing those unlocks bonus puzzles, which there's 135 puzzles total, without getting into downloadable content, which I'm not even sure it's active anymore. And with a few exceptions of series, they're all fairly unique.
Mm-hmm.
There's a set of 5 chess puzzles where it's placing queens on a chessboard, and there's different variations of that, with each one getting more difficult. There's a few sliding puzzles, but then you get stuff like triangles in ink, where you have 2 shapes, one larger, one smaller, each one made up of little triangles. Dipping your fountain pen into the ink one time gives you just enough ink to draw 4 triangles, is depicted by the shape of the left. So with that in mind, how many times do you have to dip your pen in the ink in order to draw the shape on the right that's made of 36 triangles? And trying to figure that out from the visual, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way to really talk about each individual puzzle because, right?
Yeah.
My favorite puzzles were the ones I was able to sit and just mess around with instead of just sit there and think with. You know, like the sliding puzzles, the ball puzzles, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed mazes when they popped up, but they seemed to be few and far between. Going up the tower, there was a magic square that was actually a lot of fun. Once, get to the second hint to give you what kind of blew it open. A magic square is a 3x3 block that all the numbers in it, the 3 numbers in any direction, add up to the same number. And this magic square was 1 to 9, so any direction that you went in, the 3 numbers would add up in the same number. But yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I really enjoyed my time with it, and I do tend to go to the next one in the series, if not in Gameclub, then on my own.
Yeah,
there's 7 in the main series, and then there's a crossover one with Ace Attorney.
Yeah, Ace Attorney is a series that we maybe should look at for Gameclub as well in the future.
Yeah, which
I've always wanted to play Ace Attorney, and I never have.
Which I have the first 3 loaded on my 3DS.
But yeah, I do want to finish this game. I want to play more in this series. I also want to sit down and play this game with my kid. I feel like this would be a good game for us to play together. Because I feel like the puzzles, most of them can be solved by someone who's younger.
Mm-hmm.
If
you could at least sit down and work it on it enough.
Yeah, like I'm not saying
get frustrated, right?
Yeah, this game is not specifically quote unquote a kid's game, but it has a lot of charm that certainly would appeal, I think, to kids in the 9 to 12, 13 demographic, kind of especially. I could be wrong, but I feel like my son would like this. But I played it mostly during my vacation, which was when he was gone to visit my in-laws. He'd spent a week and a half, 2 weeks with them in Colorado. So I would like to go back and play this with him. And I might do that. I might just...
Looks like there's actually an anime as well, which would be interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, Professor Layton, it's good. It's very good. I'm very pleased with it. It's I feel very solidly in like A- territory on this game.
And that's mostly due to... for me, I kind of agree with you on the rating. I think it's more side activities feel very tacked on. I mean, it's also the first one of the series, so doing puzzles for particular people that's not really story relevant will sometimes grant you an extra thing. There's furniture for the inn that you're staying at to outfit your rooms because they're pretty much barren because... well, story reasons.
Yeah.
And if you successfully get all the furniture and arrange it so that both Professor Layton and Luke are happy, it unlocks bonus puzzles in the main menu. Another one is, as you do puzzles throughout the game, you get strange gizmos that come together to build a robotic dog that unlocks puzzles in the main screen. Another one is if you go around, do puzzles. See how this feels like it's padding now?
Yeah.
You get pieces of a painting that's essentially a glorified jigsaw puzzle, which upon completion gives you more puzzles on the main screen under the bonus section.
Do puzzles to get a puzzle.
Yeah, about the only thing that's not a bonus that you unlock by doing puzzles is, and I had to look it up because it was bugging me otherwise. In the next game in the series, there's a point that you could get a password to go back to Professor Layton and the Curious Village to see concept art. Because at the end of this game, they tease already the next one, right?
Yeah.
Which I imagine it would have had to been a pretty hard flop to really kill the series in just one go, because I don't imagine this being a very costly game to put together outside of, hiring a puzzle master to build things, right? And an animation team for the cutscenes, but right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't imagine it being costly either, but who knows? You never know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's 2 thumbs up. I like it. I want to finish it. I want to play with my kid. I might could even get Katie to sit down and play this with me. Make it a family activity. Because she likes stuff like this a lot of times.
I think Anita will get frustrated with it, because there's just times that it's a little obtuse what wants of you, unless you're reading very carefully on the directions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking. This is the same game developer that did Kuni, so right.
Yeah. That's a gorgeous game. Ni no Kuni's good.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
I still need to go back and finish that. So yeah, I mean, is there really anything else to say?
I don't
Other
think
than,
so. I mean,
looking forward to possibly the next adventure.
yeah, we both said A-, and 2 thumbs up. Recommend from both of us. I gather.
Maybe we'll see at the Diabolical box sooner rather than later.
Diabolical.
Well, that's the. Well, okay. Here's the thing: is that the next 2 games of the series does the North American European title shenanigans. So it's Professor Layton and the Diabolical Box, or Professor Layton and Pandora's Box, because right. Then
Yes.
Professor Layton.
Which one is the American name?
American is Diabolical.
Okay.
Then Professor Layton and Lost Future, or for us, Professor Layton and the Unwound Future. And these all released within just like a 3.5 years. Then they had the prequel trilogy. Then the spin-off, which is on Android. Then the crossover, which is Professor Layton versus Phoenix Strike, Ace Attorney. And the new one, the newest one is Layton's Mystery Journey, Catriel and the Millionaire's Conspiracy, and Professor Layton, the New World of Steam, which is coming out before too long. It's to be announced still, so.
I see these games on PC. I don't know if they'll ever do it. Nintendo
does
not release games on PC, but is this studio like a Nintendo-owned studio?
No, it's not, but I imagine they probably have incentive to not. It's developed by Level 5.
Yeah. Okay.
So like I said, Ni no Kuni, Dark Cloud series, some of the Dragon Quest games.
Some of the Dragon Quest games are on PC.
Yeah, but then you get stuff like Time Travelers, which is not. Oh, here's one that I've been playing of theirs. It's actually a lot of fun that might throw into Gameclub. How does Mecha RPG tickle your fancy?
I like a mecha RPG. I'm listening.
Twist. Saturday morning anime style mecha RPG.
Interesting.
Where it's kids with overly serious ambition about toys. And the toys are little mechas that run around.
That's cute.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be on the Game Club list. It's called Little Battlers Experience. I want you to go look at this game. One is for the 3DS. I think you'll absolutely either love it or loathe it.
Little Battlers Experience?
Yes.
Okay.
LBX, Little Battlers Experience. And the only reason why I bring it up is that it's also put out by Level 5.
Okay.
Right.
I'm interested.
And it has that like late 90s, early 2000s like anime that's built solely to sell the toy vibe about it of being of kids overly excited about a toy, and the entire world has like this obsession with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm here for that. It looks very, very cute. Very good. I'm
Yeah,
into
we
it.
have some interesting stuff possibly for emulation. A lot of it
Yeah.
from level 5.
Also, speaking of emulation, like I'm saying, like it'd be good if they came to PC like officially, but you know, I, I have emulation, so I can play
Mhm.
anything I want on PC.
Well, to an extent, because right.
Well, yeah, but almost anything I want on PC. Many things on PC. I would say most things.
Steal everything.
Yeah.
But
Raise the
yeah,
Jolly Roger.
that's the game club for this month. So now on to one that I haven't gotten a chance to play yet because I've been distracted by other things. What about you?
Yeah, I haven't played it yet either. So I
Uh,
love
th-
how we
th-
were like, yeah, we'll announce it a couple months in advance. We'll start playing it. Neither of us did. Death Stranding. Um,
First experience for me for Kojima.
Not my first Kojima game, but it's been a while since I played a Kojima game.
So this is probably going to be more first impressions than anything. But to be perfectly honest, it most likely was going to be anyway.
Yeah, Death Stranding has the potential to be, many dozens to 100 hours or more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've played several games in the Metal Gear franchise, which I think is what Kojima is probably most known for, at least that I can think of. Um, but he's done some other stuff as well. But yeah, I've played quite a few of the Metal Gear games, so that's my, I guess you could say, experience with Kojima.
Yeah.
Let's see, Metal
I'm.
Gear. Oh, sorry.
Well, I was just looking at his game list, and
Which I just pulled up as well.
yeah, I mean there. Looks like he also did some consulting work on Super Smash Brothers for level design.
Yeah, I
Uh,
see
but,
that. Zone
he
of
was
the
a,
Enders, which I've played. Zone of the Enders.
yeah, he was a producer on Beatmania, which I could definitely see that. I played a little bit of that. I mean, uh, didn't play that Castlevania, but honestly, I've never really played much of Castlevania. So yeah, I'm in for a wild ride, huh?
Yeah, Kojima's a character. Supposedly, he's extremely sort of mild mannered in real life when you run into him. I don't know.
Mhm.
I've never met the man, but I've several of the podcasts that I listen to. People have had encounters with him in the wild, and they say he's just very, very quiet, very reserved, seems very shy.
I mean, it's nice to see that compared to the other options, right?
Yeah, true, true. But
I mean, I'd much rather have him be shy than offensive asshole.
yeah, very true. So yeah, Death Stranding for the August Game Club. Long month. I'm hoping to get 25 hours of playtime.
Yeah, I need to pull myself away from another game in order to do this.
Indeed, another game I assume that we'll be talking about next time.
Most likely.
Right. Well, moving on to our first news topic, though. The ESRB proposes facial age estimation technology for parental consent.
Ew. Right?
Yeah,
This does not bode well.
no, I don't like this. This feels very off. But at the same time, like I'm not condoning it, but the world that we live in, the modern world, is full of facial recognition technology. Lots of people will use sort of it goes by a couple different names, but essentially like face identify to log into your phones,
Mm-hmm.
your PC uses it. there are lots of systems at workplaces and in airports that utilize facial recognition to allow people admittance. Like, this is a step further, especially since it's directed for children, to children. I don't quite know which is the exact right terminology to use, but
according this, it looks like it's directed at children.
Yeah.
And according to the Online Children's Privacy Protection Act, the ESRB would also need to have permission to collect personal information for children aged 13 or under, which would be kind of right where the ESRB needs to do this. Which, that's... There's so many problems with this. First of all, the ESRB leaks information like a fucking sieve.
Yeah, like a sieve. Not very good at keeping your data secure. Okay.
How many years did the ESRB leak their E3 contact information? Was it found that it was like 10 years worth that was just on an open server?
Yeah, it was from, if I remember correctly, it was from like the mid 2010s or the early 2010s. And they had been told about it. Like, they knew that they were doing it, and they didn't fix it. So,
yeah, the ESRB doesn't have a good track record of keeping information. And where we're also starting to get, AI problems, I could just imagine them losing this information and it just becoming a gold mine for AI scraping of real faces.
Yeah.
Oh. And that doesn't even get into the whole issue of them also wanting to put a age limit on giving parental permission, which feels really weird. So, according to this, this is just their perspective, their ideas. If their estimated age is lower than the threshold, 25 is given in the proposal, the parent would not be allowed to give permission for their child to play the game. Which also, what the fuck?
So, the way that this works for Google, because I've had to set up, we got my kid a phone this summer. I've set up parental controls and stuff. And if your child's indicated age is older than 13, there are certain aspects of the parental controls that get locked out. And it seems like for anti-abuse stuff, like to try to prevent parents from abusing their children by super duper hardcore monitoring all of their stuff. If this is some misunderstanding or miscommunication about what this is for, I could see them having like certain things where it's like, well, the parents can't actually see or do or utilize certain aspects without, with Google. Like, if you go follow proper procedures, you can still get this information, but it usually involves like getting a lawyer. But if it's something like that they're just not explaining well, or that hasn't been implemented yet as part of this, process, I could kind of see that. Otherwise, it feels very weird. But given that I have some experience with parental control stuff, I can say, okay, well, maybe they're just not doing a good job of explaining some of the same kinds of policies that Google and probably others have when it comes to this sort of thing. But anyway, sorry, I digress.
Yeah, it's just... this has so many issues. Oh.
Yeah, I don't like it. But also, this is the world that we live in, for better or for worse.
Yeah, it's also kind of funny how we're at this point of not even be able to grant permission if, you're baby-faced enough, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, okay, have they fixed the facial recognition for black people yet?
Interesting. I didn't even think about that, but you're right.
Because a lot of these models, they whenever they build the algorithms to be able to read the faces, they feed a bunch of faces and let it organically grow in the algorithm. And typically, it's white people.
Yeah.
The Kinect was famous for not being able to detect black people, which was kind of funny, but also sad.
Yeah, and it especially struggles with, it struggles with a lot of different minorities as well, like facial recognition, certain types. struggle with just in general non-white people, but black people specifically being generally of such a darker skin tone than white people really throws off a lot of those algorithms.
And also a little bit of facial geometry differences.
Yeah. Because, a brown person, for example, if you're Hispanic or, of Middle Eastern descent, there are fewer differences. I don't want to sound awful,
because,
like
right,
in some dodgy conversation territory here, because I don't want to sound awful, but yeah,
we're from red states, but we're not assholes,
right?
Or at least try not to be.
I mean, you're basically your AI, your computer model can only be as good as the data that's given. And because of societal biases, they have been fed a lot of data on white people, and that causes problems with other people groups. That's probably the best way to say it.
Mm-hmm. So now we're also trying to estimate age and right.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like that's pretty easy to do too. Like, actually, no, never mind. The example I was going to use, because I was going to say my age would probably be a lot easier to estimate because of like my facial hair and things like that. But like teenagers can have beards. I had a beard when I was a teenager. I had a full ass beard when I was a teenager.
Meanwhile, I can't even grow a full ass beard.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder. Okay, so if this goes through, and they are found that they're illegally keeping the data, sending it back to their parent companies because, if we want to get tinfoil hatty, this is the solution that the ESRB is wanting to use is owned by a company which has ties to Epic, which goes back up the ladder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Makes you wonder how small the fine's going to be compared to the amount of money that they could sell the data for, right?
Oh, teeny tiny, comparably infinitesimal.
Mm-hmm. Because that's kind of the cost of running business these days. You get a fine that's a fraction of a percent versus what you actually made on selling the data.
Yeah, and the fines to me or you or any other air quotes normal person, $10,000 an instance would be devastating, but to these companies $10,000 is a rounding error. Mm-hmm. Probably many tens of thousands of dollars is a rounding error. So I guess we'll see. I mean, honestly, this is the future. As much as it's gross and we don't like it, this is the slow to moderate march of technology. Facial recognition has been a part of our society already for, pretty broadly speaking, for at least a decade, in places we don't think about, in places we don't recognize. Think of the children as always the argument that seems to get the most traction, for better or for worse. But facial recognition has already been an integral part of technology and, in some ways, our society for over a decade now. Mm-hmm. This is just, I think, inevitable. I don't want to sound like a defeatist, but technology becomes more and more integrated into our lives all the time. The idea of wearable technology that can report on your physical health, for example, pros and cons to that. That's a huge invasion of privacy, but it can help stop certain negative things, heart attacks, potentially strokes, medical care, etc. And it's you have to weigh those things and choose how much you're going to participate. But society as a whole always trends more progressive. And I think that my kid is not going to think twice about this because he's going to grow up in a world where it just is.
Sort of like how the microtransactions, you and me look at them and it's ugh. Meanwhile, it's, where do I pay, right?
Yep, my kid doesn't think twice about it. Oh, I want to buy, when he was playing Roblox, which he hasn't played in a while. I hope he never does again. He'd be like, oh yeah, I want to buy an auto clicker. I'm like, is that what I think it is? And it is. It's exactly what you think it is. It's $5.
Why did he want an auto clicker?
Because he's a kid and auto clicker makes the number get bigger faster. So,
Amateur.
he's 9. I'm trying. It's
I
hard. The kids these days.
I have my gaming mouse with macro capability.
I know, but
Amateur.
he doesn't know what a macro is. Like I told him, he's like, "Can we set one up?" And I'm like, "Sure." It'll take a minute. He's like, I don't want to wait." I go, "Okay, well, you're not spending $5 on this." And then he just kind of moved on. But anyways, speaking of moving on, are you ready to move on?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, Sony agrees to a 10-year Call of Duty deal with Microsoft.
Gee, I wonder why Sony is suddenly playing ball, right?
Yeah. This whole everything has been wild. Recently, there was a lot of, as part of just this whole investigation process, there has been a lot of internal documents on both sides of the equation that have come out with them saying all kinds of awful stuff that we know that they do behind the scenes, but of course they don't ever talk about how that, both of these companies recognize their strangleholds on the industry and trying to come up with their own ideas to put the others out of business, and what can they do to further monopolize their little corners. And now all of a sudden, I mean, I don't think this is all of it, but I feel like this is part of it, of like, oh yeah, our dirty laundry is getting out. Let's not do that. Let's just get this over with.
All right.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting in 10 years what happens.
Yeah.
Assuming Call of Duty's even still, as relevant.
Yeah. 10 years is enough time for Sony, if they chose to do this, if they thought ahead more than just next financial quarter, to develop a franchise that could compete in the same space that Call of Duty does. 10 years is enough time to do it. Will they? I don't know.
I mean, hell, 5 years is enough to get the groundwork done.
Yeah.
But the problem is that requires a lot more forward thinking. And typically it's, next financial quarter, it has to be bigger.
Yep.
The most forward thinking is figuring out, what bullshit they're going to put on the next console, right?
Got to provide constant, profit to the shareholders. But yeah, I saw the review about the PlayStation 6. I know that's not on our list for this week, but I did see that. I mean,
anything interesting? I know that part of this, there was documents that came out that said that they expect the next Switch to be, or the Switch successor to launch late next year.
No, I mean, anything interesting? No. It's a sleeker, slightly more powerful console that has a 6 behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there might be some killer features or something that we're going to hear about soon, but I play PC. I play games on PC. The stuff that consoles do, I've been doing, like, our new exciting technology is like, yeah, that's been in the PC space for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, let's see. I'm scrolling through this article to look for something else. Like, I just, this whole thing in the end, like, I'm still, it's possible I've missed some documents that confirm this or deny it, but I haven't seen them. So I'm still convinced that this isn't about any of this at all. It's not about Activision. It's not about Blizzard. Those are cherries on top of the king cake. Microsoft wants to be in the mobile gaming space. They want to, the easiest way to gain a foothold is to buy their way in. And
so like Elon Musk did.
Yes. And, Microsoft could screw it up just as bad as Elon Musk did.
I'm not sure if Microsoft's that incompetent.
I was going to say
Microsoft is incompetent, but not that incompetent.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't think that they would.
It'd be like my Windows Millennial Edition, like 5 or 6 times in a row.
Yeah, but I'm still 100% convinced that Microsoft wants to be more prominent in the mobile gaming space. I saw a report the other day. I guess it's been a week ago that talked about it was sort of an updated list on like how much of the gaming market is made up by which thing, console, PC, etc. And mobile gaming has continued to grow over the last few years to become an even larger percentage of the gaming industry. And I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Everybody or almost everybody has smartphones. And most people who have smartphones play some games on them, some kind of games. So
maybe Bill Gates just really wants a new Guitar Hero.
I like Guitar Hero. I always liked Guitar Hero. So
I mean,
if Bill Gates wants a new Guitar Hero, I support that decision.
So I'm just looking at the list of like IPs that they would own. So Blur, Caesar, which I think is the old RTS, or sorry, not sure if RTS or if the old gambling game. Call of Duty, of course, Candy Crush, which is where you're going with this. Crash Bandicoot, Diablo, DJ Hero, Empire Earth, Gabriel Knight, which I'm not too familiar with. Geometry Wars. Why do I stumble over that? Guitar Hero, Gun, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, Hexen, Interstate 76, which, boy, there's one that hasn't been around for a long time, huh?
Yeah.
King's Quest, Lore, Bow Mysteries, The Lost Vikings, Overwatch, Fangam Tamora, Pitfall, Police Quest Prototype, Quest for Glory, Singularity, Skylanders. Oh, maybe they could bring back Skylanders, right?
Yeah.
Soldier of Fortune, Space Quest, Spyro the Dragon, StarCraft, Tenchu, Time Shift, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, True Crime, World of Warcraft, and Zork. Okay, text-based World of Warcraft set in a skate park in the Tony Hawk's universe. What do you think?
Sounds amazing. And weird. I'm there.
Spyro the Dragon, Crash Bandicoot, and I'm blanking. How about a random rocker and a puzzle platformer a la Lost Vikings?
That sounds weird and esoteric as hell, but I'd try it. Why not?
Or they just bring back Heroes of the Storm, which is just as likely, right?
Yeah. Good old HOTS. But yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll keep seeing where this goes as that story develops, but
Okay, so that's what that is. I had to go back. Tenchu was a stealth action video game series in the late 90s, early 2000s. What was the other one here that I didn't really recognize? I mean, the True Crime series, that was basically, more serious GTA. Yeah. There's some interesting ones that they could play with if assuming that you're not correct on this, which I have no reason to, doubt you on that one.
yeah. So
I still think Bill Gates is sitting there with his little plastic guitars, like, I need more Guitar Hero.
instead of more cowbell, more guitar.
His guitar broke, and do you think he's gonna be like a filthy casual and buy his second hand? He'll buy Activision Blizzard and make a new guitar.
Right? The power of having billions of dollars.
Who am I kidding? Bill Gates. He's on a crusade to wipe out mosquitoes.
I mean, first, there's no such thing as a good or ethical billionaire. But like in terms of like what Bill Gates could be doing with his time and his money, he could do worse. I mean, look at Elon Musk.
What? Getting in legal arguments over the letter X. Poorly naming its children.
Among other things. Many other things.
Bullying Filipino cave divers, calling them pedophiles.
That's an old pull at this point. That's from years ago.
Yeah, it was kind of the first hint that, the lights are on, but but there's nobody home.
Nobody's home. I don't know if that was the first hint, but I think that was the first public hint.
Yeah.
Like if you weren't following who he was and what he was into.
Oh, it's kind of funny going back to 2000s or 2010 stuff and seeing how everybody was on his dick. Anita was watching a History Channel engineering thing. It was like 2019, 2020 released, I believe. And they were talking about how this guy was the Elon Musk of his day. He was he was building everything. He was getting all the technology together. And I'm just sitting there chuckling. Because, yeah, Elon Musk as a build shit. He'll throw money at something and tell buy people to build it for him, and then slap a shitty name on it.
Yep. There was a time when I thought Elon Musk was better than I think he is now. I was never like all up on his dick about anything, like I never thought he was as good as most people, you know, in those early stands thought he was. But there was a time when I thought he was a bit better than he actually is. Everything was we were all so much more innocent pre 2016, pre Trump era. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'm convinced that the world ended in 2012.
We all died, and we're
just slowly slipping down to hell.
Yeah, purgatory's spinning out from underneath us. I could see that. I could buy that.
Still makes more sense than some of the shit's going on.
Right. Anyways.
So speaking of shit going on, Microsoft is ending Xbox Gold.
Yep. End of an era in some ways. I mean, the writing was on the wall for a long time, and then they said, I can't remember if it was earlier this year, if it was last year, they said that they were going to be ending Xbox Live Gold, and transitioning fully to their Game Pass model and different tiers of Game Pass.
Well, they have said that games for gold, if you whatever you redeemed, you keep. So you're not losing anything there, at least.
Yeah, which is good.
So let's get into the weirdness, because shit's about to get weird, y'all. So there's 4 tiers. For console-wise, there's 3, but for completeness sake, there's also the PC tier. So the core thing going on, see what I did there?
Yeah.
Is that they're replacing Xbox Gold with Game Pass Core, which is a $10 a month multiplayer access for Game Pass. All right. The next tier up is $11, which I think is what it is right now anyway. Game Pass console version. Then and also there's Xbox Game Pass PC version, which is also $10. It's the same as the core version. Then there's Ultimate, which is PC Game Pass, console Game Pass, and core together. Now I highlight together because where it gets weird is that Game Pass Core is online multiplayer access and 25 games, which we'll get into on a little bit. But Game Pass Console does not have online multiplayer from everything that I've read, which is weird.
Yep. It does have more games. It's got, they say, hundreds of high-quality games on console, which is, I believe, their entire console Game Pass library.
Yeah.
However
the
many
console
games
Game
that happens to be.
Yeah, the console Game Pass library is bigger than the PC one.
Yeah.
But yeah, why would you buy the core version if you even think about multiplayer?
You mean, why would you buy the console version if you even think about multiplayer?
I should say the console version. Sorry. Why would you get the console version and not just go immediately to Ultimate? Part of me, the tinfoil hat in me is this is them trying to bump up more people to the Ultimate Pass, even though they have no reason to otherwise.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. The game list for the core version is actually very good. Uh, I believe it's on this link.
All right. So currently, they've confirmed 19 games,
Yeah, 19 of the 25.
which are Among Us,
Sorry.
Descenders, which I've never heard of, Dishonored 2, Doom Eternal, Fable Anniversary, Fallout
Okay.
4.
I've played Dissenters. It looked familiar. It's a downhill BMX racing game. It's actually not bad.
Okay. Yeah, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Forza Horizon 4, Gears 5, Grounded, Halo 5, Halo Wars 2, Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, Human Fall Flat, Inside, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Psychonauts 2, State of Decay 2, and Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited. That's what they've confirmed so far. Quite a few of those games are really good. Games that we have played either individually, some of them on Gameclub.
Yeah, and they've also said that new titles would be added 2 to 3 times a year. So, sort of like the Nintendo model of adding waves of games. Back when Nintendo did that.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, that's a pretty good list. I like having access to more games via the PC Game Pass, but like, depending on what type of gamer you are, the types of games that you're into, there are a lot of very solid games on that list that can give you, hundreds of combined hours of gameplay. Fallout 4, Halo 5, Gears 5, Forza Horizon 4.
Now the problem comes in. Okay, so Forza Horizon, even though we play it essentially as a single player game, does have multiplayer in it. Elder Scrolls Online, right?
Yeah.
Psychonauts 2 is solely a single player experience. Ori and the Will of the Wisp, single player. Inside, I'm pretty sure single player only. Human Fall Flat is highly recommended to play co-op. Hellblade is single player only. Halo Wars and Halo 5 obviously have multiplayer components. Grounded is pretty much required to play online. Fallout 76, how are they doing that one?
Yeah. Multiplayer only. Although for core, I mean, since that's the one that gets multiplayer, that's fine. But one would assume that these games are also on the
console version.
The console version. And, for some of them, because the console, this is what's so baffling. And, like, I know that you've said this already, like you mentioned it, but I have to express again, it's so baffling to me. I feel like they got these backwards. Core should not include multiplayer. Core should cost like $5. It should not include multiplayer, and it should give you the limited run of games. And that's perfect for the person who just wants access to a small variety of games. They happen to like the games that are on the list, and it's more financially viable for them to do this rather than go out and buy those individual games on their own, and like short-term versus long-term, like yada yada. But we do live in an increasingly online, cloud-driven, streaming-based world, subscription-based, like, but I feel like that should be what core is. And then the console, PC Game Pass and console Game Pass should be the same, other than like the games, because not all the games are compatible on PC. But they should be the same. Whatever their cost is, $10, $11, they should be the same and have multiplayer and the large libraries. And then the Ultimate should be, what it is. Ultimate is what it should be, which is just everything. And I agree with you in the tinfoil hat statement. Like, I feel like this is just them trying to push people who are on console into the Ultimate subscription to get everything.
I mean, here's the thing is that right now, I'm just double checking myself. I do believe Game Pass. Oh, no, okay. So, yeah, Game Pass Ultimate is the only one that has multiplayer. So, yeah, they're basically shifting.
What do you mean? Hang on. What do you mean Game Pass Ultimate is the only one that has multiplayer?
Game Pass for console does not have multiplayer. They're basically rebranding it. So
right, but the Game Pass core does have multiplayer.
Yeah. I was just saying that this is essentially a rebranded. Does change things. It still feels really weird.
Yeah,
that they're pushing this. I was trying to confirm a couple things on here, I should say, uh, about how things are right now. I was seeing if the console Game Pass included Xbox Gold, but it doesn't. So, uh,
Yeah. This Game Pass has for a long time been an extremely good deal for the consumer.
mhm.
And this feels like Microsoft's first step to pulling that back a little because
Yeah.
they've gathered, essentially they've cornered the market. And so with no competition, no viable competition, with no regulation to prevent them from doing so, they're now saying, okay, we've got it. We're going to start slowly but surely implementing these changes and reducing, the consumer friendliness of the Game Pass model.
Yeah, but also on the flip side, if you're a non-Game Pass member, this is essentially taking away Games for Gold, which, from some of the comments I've seen, hasn't been all that great the last, for quite a while, I should say. And putting in the more Nintendo model, where you're not giving away a game, it's swapping it around as a subscription option.
Yeah.
Which is not as good as giving away a couple games, but gives an option possibly of more interesting games. So I'm not sure if this is the first step of them going down a dark path for Game Pass, but it's also more confusing because they're bringing the naming a lot closer together.
Yeah. Which, sowing confusion, that's a tactic we've seen time and time again across various industries. You confuse consumers, it makes it more difficult for them to make what is the, better choice for them.
Yeah.
And they just say, well, I guess I'll just get the one that's supposed to have everything. That happens. That's been going on.
Especially if you enjoy a few multiplayer games that looks good on Game Pass that is not in the core experience. If you want to play the newest Forza Horizon, well, you can't do that in the core version. It only has 4 there. Does it have 5? Right?
Yeah, but 5 is a multiplayer game. I mean, technically, yeah, you can play it quote unquote offline, but it is a multiplayer game. So then what? Does that mean you actually can play it? Do you have to have Game Pass Ultimate or both? Well, I guess I'll just get Game Pass Ultimate because then I can get the game that I want, not have to think about it. I mean, we've seen this for forever with game publishers because there will be 10 editions of a game, and it's well, I'll buy the Ultimate Edition, but then the Ultimate Edition doesn't actually have everything. And it's like, well, what do you mean? It's supposed to be the Ultimate Edition. Like,
all right,
this is in that territory. So, yeah. Thankfully, PC Game Pass isn't changing.
Yeah,
can at least take it can at least take a smidgen of comfort in that. But I'm not burying my head in the sand. But the thing is it's like Microsoft doesn't really have any competition in this market space.
I mean, what's the competition right now? Let's take streaming off the table. So Luma isn't there, or Luna, sorry. There's EA, which is.
Yeah,
which is part of PC Game Pass anyway, right? Or
but EA does have its own separate program though that you can sign up for. So does Ubisoft.
Why would you need a subscription service to play more than one Ubisoft game? They're all the same.
Hey. Yep, you just pick the one that's the skin that you want. Do you want the modern one? Do you want the past one? Do you want the sci-fi one?
Okay, that's a little facetious. Because they do have the pirate one that's not exactly the same.
Yeah.
But they also had the was it the God of War ripoff that actually did fairly decently, but not decently enough because it's Ubisoft, right?
Yeah.
Because they just canceled the sequel to I have to bring the name up. Otherwise I'm going to, because we were talking about Phoenix Wright, it's going to mess with me. All right.
Yeah.
Phoenix Rising. They killed the sequel to that just today, so Immortals Phoenix Rising, which is a terrible name, but it was kind of forced on them because of copyright.
But Sony has its own game subscription service, but it's PlayStation only. They don't have a PC version. Nintendo has got their own that you've mentioned earlier that is nowhere near as good as Game Pass.
Yeah, Nintendo's a weird one. It has two.
And then there's one other streaming service, or not streaming, there's one other game subscription type service that I'm drawing a blank on. I think Nvidia does it because you can get the Shield tablet and it came with it and it had a streaming component. And I think they added a Game Pass type of thing where that you get games that you can download to the tablet. I mean, I say tablet, it is like a tablet style console.
I mean, technically Prime Gaming is also there.
Yeah.
Which is not the Luna, that's something different.
But the thing is like that we're, for most of these we're splitting hairs in some way. And then the only two that I think of as like air quotes real competition is Sony's PlayStation subscription service that I cannot remember what it's called, and Nintendo's
PlayStation Plus.
PlayStation Plus. Yeah.
Yeah, and for Nintendo, it's what brand, because Nintendo has two of them. They have one which is tied into their online service, much like the Xbox Game Pass Core. Then they have the expansion pass, which gives Nintendo 64, Sega Genesis, and Game Boy Advance games.
Ooh, So yeah.
I'm just looking to see if there's any other ones. NVIDIA GeForce Now, which you mentioned. There doesn't seem to be that many yet, which honestly kind of surprises me with some of the big publishers not pushing them out.
Google has one with their family.
I wasn't counting mobile.
Oh, okay.
I was, when I'm talking about game services, I'm only including game services that have good games.
Some of the ones that are included in the Google family, whatever it's called, are not
Google
too bad.
Play Pass.
Google Play Pass. Thank you. I mean, Mini Metro was on there. That's a good game.
Mm-hmm. I was being facetious because Google's been pushing their PC gaming side now, which I guess technically that would make Play Pass a PC gaming thing. But they've been pushing it with Kingdom Rush, which is not a very good game to play on a PC.
Yeah.
And pushing like Cookie Clicker and just like the quintessential mobile gaming experiences. That doesn't feel very PC focused,
Yeah. So, there's not really any real competition in this space to Microsoft.
Hey, we could have played Professor Layton in the Curious Village in HD on Google Play Pass. Right?
Yeah. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll buy it on, because I don't have Play Pass. I did at one point. I tried it out, but I don't play enough mobile games to justify a monthly subscription. But I'd play Professor Layton on there.
Yeah, I'm just looking through. It's like at their Wired has the best Google Play Pass games, and there's stuff like Stardew Valley on there. But it's why would I play the Play Pass version on PC when I could get the PC version? Right.
Right, but if you don't play games on PC, then that's an option. But anyways, there's no real competition in this space. Sony probably gets the closest just with PlayStation Plus, but even that is not.
If they ever bring it to PC, cowards.
Yeah, cowards, bitches, pussies.
I'd love to see Sony and Microsoft fight over who gets the PC market and a subscription service.
Yep, I would subscribe to a Sony games subscription service on PC. There are several.
They have to port games because I'm not going to do streaming on it.
Yeah, There are a lot of games though that I would like to play that Sony makes that are exclusives.
Yeah, let's see. See if there's. Sony actually has a list. Hey, all the Assassin's Creed games that you want, right?
Yay. But I can emulate a lot of games, but not all of them. And emulation past the PS2 is spotty for on Sony's side.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I'm just kind of flipping around. Oh, here you go. Paw Patrol Mighty Pups.
there we go. All right. Let's move on. I don't think I have anything else to say about this. It's confusing. It does not bode well for the future. But we kind of always suspected Microsoft would do this at some point, and it seems like we might be hitting that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, we have got a pair of Community Corner topics. We got a couple more things submitted. You can hear us talk about those in the Franken content, actually, because they weren't quite gaming relevant enough to make the main show. Also, one of them
we would have enough to really talk about.
Yeah. So,
but we do appreciate it.
We do appreciate it. So for our first community corner, oh, this is for me. Bear sex scene sends Baldur's Gate 3 up the Steam charts. I don't know how much I have to say from this, other than I'm immediately more interested in Baldur's Gate than I was.
And when we say bear sex scene, we mean literally.
Yeah, bear, not bear as in BARE. Bear is in BEAR. Big old.
And not as Jared would be able to self-describe as hairy, open dude. What?
Yeah, so I mean, Baldur's Gate is the OG D&D video game. That's the easiest way to explain the Baldur's Gate series. And so there's a let's see, what is the scene? If I remember correctly, because I haven't looked this up since I first heard about it. There is a druid who has
shapeshifted into a bear.
And
the guy is about to fuck it.
Yep. So Baldur's Gate has shut up in my estimation. Listen, I don't know why I'm saying it that way, but listen. Game developers, especially those in the double and triple A space, we're all, maybe not all of us, most of us are horny degenerates. And if you give us stuff like this, we will buy it. Have you been on Twitter recently, developers? Have you been anywhere on the internet?
Have you seen the excretions?
Yes. And seen the excretions. So many excretions. You put more of this in your game. We want it. We want to pay for it.
And also, it's pushing boundaries, too, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
How many... okay, discounting weird Japanese visual novels. How many games can you compare, right?
None that I'm aware of, other than this now.
Yeah, and I love that I also had to give the caveat of discounting visual novels, because you know that there's some sort of weird sex visual novel in Japan that was like bear fucker, if you translate the title.
Oh. But yeah, I was always going to buy Baldur's Gate 3, but now I'm like, oh, maybe I'll buy it while it's still in early access. I talked a few months ago about Baldur's Gate 2 and how I had played it previously and enjoyed it, but it's been so long that the game design just has not held up. But modern, made by Larian, which are the same people who did the Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, among other things. I'm there for that.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played as much Divinity Original Sin 2 as 1, obviously. But, it's very much in the hardcore CRPG genre that, needs Baldur's Gate, right? That Baldur's Gate need, I should say, and allowing you to kind of just go off the rails.
Yep. So
As long as they don't have somebody shouting about cheese.
They probably will somewhere. But I'm all for bear fucking. You put it in, I will buy it. I'm there.
And not just bear fucking, but gay bear fucking.
Absolutely. The best kind. Really, gay anything fucking is almost certainly the best kind. So.
But it's so happy.
Why can't they be happy? But yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say. I'm just happy to see the bear fucking, the gay bear fucking.
I'm wondering just how much on the right-wing media has gotten absolutely nuts with this. Or are they still too hung up on that one country song now? I try to defend it.
Probably. I mean,
I'm so tired of living in a red state.
Me too. All right. Final topic for the night. Will Ubisoft delete inactive accounts?
No.
No, they won't.
Okay. Well, okay, with a caveat. So, this is one of those times that it's really frustrating to deal with games media because things move so quickly, and there's not. I really don't want to get into a whole games media is a bunch of hacks, but there's enough hacks on the big sites that will just grab a story and put it on, put it up, and it does the circles and it goes around, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we've been caught in the whirlwind of, it's everywhere. We can't find any other sources because, everybody's talking about it this one way. Well, this time around, we're late enough in the news cycle that we get the retraction and the clarification all done in 1 week, hopefully. So it started on Twitter. It was a week ago, so it was still Twitter, about a guy posting about his support email that he got, showing that if he doesn't log in within 30 days, his account was going to get deleted. And Ubisoft's customer service kind of bumbling and making it sound like, this is a thing for inactive accounts in general. Instead, it's more inactive accounts that has their games attached to it. It's a thing that cleans up, essentially empty accounts, which is still not great and kind of frustrating, but not as bad.
Yeah.
And this thing has made the rounds before. As a matter of fact, somebody linked going to on the main thing that was going to the PC Gamer article, a link to another PC Gamer article 8 years ago talking about the exact same topic, and the retraction was the same there. Essentially, Ubisoft's customer service is about as competent as their game development.
Not very.
They screwed up the wording, and their terms of service is a little vague. And then they have to make a big statement saying that no, if your account has games on it, you're not in danger of losing your account. Those are exempt from any possible cleanup that we may do. But because they don't say that in the first place, you get articles and articles and articles talking about, Ubisoft is going to delete your accounts, you're going to lose your games, and get all the, the clickbaity scare tactic headlines. And then everybody will see how, shitty Ubisoft is. And don't get me wrong, Ubisoft is a shitty company, but this is not one of those times that they are shitty. Outside of, fucking up their customer service, because, right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of reasons to hate Ubisoft. This is not one of them.
No.
And there was, at least the last time this went around, it was essentially a false flag, or not. Well, false flag is probably a strong word for it, but it was media being drummed up during one of the hostile takeover attempts of Ubisoft. Because you remember those, right?
I remember those days. Simpler times.
And was basically trying to push down Ubisoft's stock price to be able to just do the hostile takeover. Not sure if that's part of this time around, or if that's just games media not checking with Ubisoft and just rushing out and putting out a story, then saying, well, PC Gamer put out the story, Kotaku has to put out the story now, or vice versa.
Yeah, and once someone breaks the story, everyone just cites the original story, or they'll just cite each other. And so it's like, well, they said it, so we're going to say it. And that's a problem not just in games media. That happens in other media as well, other news topics. But it happens all the time, constantly in games media.
Yeah. Or have an article that's citing a Reddit post that is obscure and weird. And then that gets lost in the next writing. Let's say Kotaku breaks a story from Reddit. PC Gamer rewrites the Kotaku story, cuts the source, saying that it's a Kotaku story. Then it becomes a Gamer Telephone, right?
Yeah.
And you have to follow the links back. So, yeah. I do think that there needs to be more integrity in games journalism. And not, the rush to publish anything.
Yeah, I agree.
But 100%. I don't think that there's going to be a change on it because, there's no incentive to.
Nope. No incentive, no regulation. No, you've got no carrot, you've got no stick.
And there's no real legal precedent about, pushing out a story that's categorically false because, right? At least in games media, There, you get a lot of allegedlys and, sources say in, big boy journalism.
Big boy journalism. I get what you mean, but I like that big boy journalism. I'm
being a little facetious, but I've also written for video games. I've done stints on smaller websites.
Yeah.
And I've also seen some of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, where some of it is literally twisting, and that's what at least the site I used used to write for, which is defunct, good 15 years now. Used to call it would be twisting an article or twisting a review, which is basically taking the source article and rewriting it to be a fresh article, but it would be unique to the site, but it would be essentially the same content.
Right.
It wasn't the only jobs I did there, but it was one of the ones that was a lot easier, and they would pay for a quick turnaround because, right?
Yeah.
And this was mid 2000s, so you could only imagine how it is now, right?
Yep.
Not saying all game sites do this, but I would be shocked if it's not a thing in some of the bigger ones.
I feel like most of them do. I guess I can't say all, but I feel like the majority do.
And it's very frustrating to want to do writing on it because, you're basically, it feels like you're rewriting someone else's work to turn in for your homework.
Yeah. I gotta say, right, this is it's somewhat related, but a serious thing. Like Ground News. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, either you, Rage, or the listener. They don't sponsor us. We're too small for them to give a shit about us. But this is a service that I use. It's $3 a month that you subscribe to a news app on your phone. And there are so many useful tools in there. It rates news articles based on media bias. You can track your own biases. You can track your own news sources that you read to try to figure out what your own blind spots are. They have independently rated, essentially a bullshit scale. That's not what it's called, but they've got and like you can go look at all of their data. I can't recall what it is off the top of my head, but you can go look at all of their data, all of their reviews. They have independent third-party reviews to look at the stuff that they produce and to see, or to look at the stuff that they collate and say like, this is real, this is fake, this is, we're this percentage sure of the legitimacy of these news articles. Here are the problems that are visible in the way that this is reported on. So on. It's a very useful tool for working to combat misinformation and disinformation in the news that you consume. So ground news, like I said, it's $3 a month. I think you can buy. I don't think you can buy a lifetime membership, but you can pay for up to a year at a time, which comes with some additional perks and like a price reduction. But $3 a month gets you all the tools that I just mentioned and unlimited access to their news articles. You can use it in a limited capacity for free, but you don't get access to some of the most useful tools of the app if you just use it for free. But you can look at news articles. You can see what their biases are, more left-leaning, right-leaning, etc. So
sounds intriguing.
Yeah. Ground news. Something that I think is worth paying for.
But not pre-orders, right?
No, not pre-orders. But yeah. So anyways, I think that does it for us tonight. Where can people send us stuff if they want to?
If you wish to send us something, you can do so vglpodcast@gmail.com. We also do still check wherever the fuck they call it now. I'm not calling it anything but Twitter, though.
Yeah.
VGL Podcast over there. Or you wish to drop by the Discord, you can find a link to that over at vglpodcast.podbean.com. And you can drop stuff in the submission folder over there.
Indeed. What about your own personal socials, Rage? Why don't you hit them with them personal socials?
Well, I'm Caffeine Rage on Twitter, even though... Well, I did retweet something, so... Hey... Progress, right?
You did do that.
Even though, honestly, it was a misclick, and I was just like, fuck it, I'll leave it. Well, I also did agree with it, so there's that, too. So if you wish to contact me, that's a decent place. Assuming that's... does the email server still work for people that doesn't pay $8 a month over on Twitter? Because I know they've broken so many things, it's hard to tell anymore, right?
I genuinely don't know. And I don't want to find out because I want to think that it is broken.
Well, I know for a long time, I'm not sure if it's still a thing, that if you contacted Twitter's press group, it just auto-replies a poop emoji. Contact their PR, I should say, and auto-reply to poop emoji because for a long time, they... news sources would say, we attempted to contact Twitter, but they fired them all. Or fired the PR, so. Right?
That's just sad. That's not even, like, remotely humorous at all.
It was sad. It was a mild chuckle the first time. For me. It wasn't funny. It was but now it's just... I'm pretty sure the only people that still work at Twitter are the ones that literally cannot leave. They would lose their work visas.
Yep. Look at Elon Musk engaging in slave labor in the 21st century. Indentured servitude. Look at you go, buddy.
It is the Republican way.
Hey. Anyways, were those all of your socials? You talked about the Twitters.
Yeah, and Steam Caffeine Rage over there.
Sweet. I've been me, Jared. You can find me on Twitter at JMA4707 until it completely is ground into the dirt, which it feels like it's very close, but for a while longer, you can still find me there. You can find me on Steam, JArthur4707, and you can find me sometimes over at twitch.tv/RunicArts, where I run an occasional tabletop game for them. It's been a couple weeks since we played. 3 weeks. We're supposed to play tomorrow night Vampire the Masquerade. So if you're interested, go there. But yeah, that's my stuff.
As I scroll back up and say once again, you could contact us VGL at gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, game-related topics. Tweet them to us, VGL Podcast. Or drop out the Discord, which you can find a link to that over at vglpodcast.podbean.com. If you wish to spread the love, you can also find us on your podcatcher of choice. Our lovely, lovely patrons have made this madness possible. You can find out more about that over at patreon.com/vglpodcast. And our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kevin McLeod. You can find his work over at incompetech.com. And
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice, bye-bye now.
see ya.
Bye-bye.